What the former support player now in the middle lane has been able to do.
NRG mouse.
And the support,
NRG.
nice.
NRG mouse.
And what hasn't been nice for NRG is Emil's
Sí,
losing all of his
NRG.
HP
La
there.
madre donde
But the
pierda.
Hunter.
Cualquier cosa puede pasar. Ayer perdió
What's going on
Speciation.
here? Maniac started at the red buff with the Hunter and then TP'd over to the right hand side. That was a very interesting start from NRG.
I think the NRG maybe just wanted to guarantee that Emilito could secure the red buff, no problems asked, and well, I think that helps them to a certain extent because anytime you're against the Sylvanas in lane and the ROM also, they really just combine super well together in terms of establishing lane pressure. I think no matter what, Emilzy ends up taking a pretty chunk of his health out, so at least that way he's able to paralyze and spit. Or, yeah, he's able to paralyze and spit, that way he can get some form of lane clear going, so by the time Emilito comes back into the lane, he won't miss out on any of the creeps.
Shout outs to the observer there. I believe that's Doug on the ones and twos, pointing out that Guan Yu actually is leading his opponent in solo lane in experience, level 3 now, because he splits that red buff. So, you know, this is the beautiful thing about our game is that Agro and I were joking that 21,000 different variables is probably lowballing it as far as different things going on in Smite. And here we are, halfway through the entire year, and players are still figuring out ways to optimize their approach to the game. Maniac just ahead of Nika right now.
Even if slightly, it still makes a bit of a difference for those.
Don't let Tully hear you talk down about slight leads in the solo lane.
Oh, yeah.
Tully will sit there and break
it's
down.
the same way for Hunters, too, in Duo.
He's got 2 extra minions, so he's going to win the game and be right about it.
I get that feeling sometimes, too, on the ADC role, trust me. It really does depend on how you choose to play your lead and not necessarily letting your lead play you.
Hey.
Maniac showing some restraint, I think, focusing the wave as opposed to maybe looking for some of that Tallow Assault Shred against Nika. Doesn't really want to risk being pulled underneath that T1 tower. We've already seen one attempt from Nika too. It was off the market, hit onto a creep instead, but Maniac certainly being cautious.
Nika able to turn things around. Now he's kind of ahead of Maniac. Very curious. Probably a couple of minions lost a tower during that transition, I suppose. Other positives for that start, letting your hunter start, or letting your carry, excuse me, start with the red buff. Certainly a good thing when you're up against Darda's Sylvanas, character very adept at clearing the wave. So you're looking at Darda's and Spudio to likely clear the wave and then go ahead and invade the enemy jungle. And if you've already taken care of the red, well, there's nothing to invade.
The big thing for me, though, is Mouse Sports Duo get a nice invade off on the purple buff, but then they don't really look to play off of that later on. I mean, the first buff respawn cycle, the early game is probably a little bit more in favor of Mouse in terms of just raw damage numbers, and if Cherio or Big Man were to rotate over, I could have definitely seen a possible first blood opportunity for Mouse off of NRG's buffs.
Isn't Rom a very poor level 1, 2, 3 hunter though?
He's deceiving in that way, but the Astral Arrow bonus damage builds up, and it can give you a pretty decent edge over some of the other hunters. Also that attack speed steroid, the slow, even his rollaway, like it's all just a really solid kit, and I think initially he was viewed that way. Actually hold that thought because Yaman gonna have to get away from some of that
jungla.
Yeah, the missed knockup a really big deal. Adapting, not level 5 just yet. Maniac has the ultimate, so does Nika.
NRG lleva Hun Bat a Darkseid.
Hebo in the jungle versus Adapting's Hun Bats. It's a very interesting matchup because I don't think anybody wins. I think if Hun Bats has the ultimate, Hebo loses, and if he doesn't, or Hebo has beads, then Hun Bats loses. I think it's very severely in either direction.
The main thing for me about this Hunbats versus the Habois is Cherio won't have too much to avoid the just so much crowd control from NRG. Like their entire giraffe, every single member has some sort of an interrupt factor going on for themselves. So that's why I kind of want to see Mouse Sports just looking to play stupidly aggressive in the early game. Their composition is fairly forgiving for that because of how much damage their gods can do in comparison to those of NRG. NRG kind of need the execution factor to go forward, but Mouse can just jump right in.
Just go right for it. Cheerio. Well, you know, it's funny. I was going to say this dual lane known for that, but not so much. The Dardes with his very aggressive. Now it's Spudio on the table. Now we have seen some of Spudio in the SML. minor league player called up to the pro league. What can you tell us about Spudio and how he's going to act in lane?
I think that Spudio definitely introduces a new flavor towards Mouse. From Jermaine, we didn't really get a good look at Jermaine Dardes, the Bruise Brothers lane that's been so infamous for quite some time. I mean, those guys have been together for 4 years, I believe Dardes said. So that's a really long time to spend with one person. And now it's going to be up to Dardes to, I think, really assimilate Spudio into this new hunter lifestyle.
Yeah, I mean, I am totally not concerned about Dardes whatsoever. He's been playing better than Jermaine for a long time, if you ask me. This is... Man, I don't know. Dardes, I think, is unhappy to see his friend go in a different direction, but kind of very happy to finally have broken it off. I don't know. I think he was going through the motions. It's been a while since Dardes and Jermaine really enjoyed a brunch, put it that way. But I think he's very happy to have a new hunter, new carry player.
Why did you just describe that like a breakup?
Because that's what it seems like. No, it seems like...
Bro, she left me on red.
It seems like Dardes was in that relationship just sitting there like, you didn't even like get out? Why are we together? Like, I guess at this point we've been doing it for so long. You know my parents. I know your parents. We hang out every year at Hanukkah. Sure, no big deal. And then finally something happens. I didn't have to break up with her. She left on her own accord. Awesome. Excellent. Bring me a hunter that I can win games with. Mouse Sports, please bring me somebody that will show up to scrims. Thank you. Dardes, Big Man Tings, and a new hunter. This is a team that's got good things ahead of them. I'm very excited because Big Man Tings and Dardes had great things going. Emilzy trying to escape those players stuck in the Suns. Dardes and Big Man Tings combining, helping out. Spudio. First blood going to Mouse Sports.
Bit of a yikes there for Emilzy. I think he was trying to contest those oracles, make sure that Mouse didn't get full control of them, since Emilito and Emilzy had just confirmed them prior to that respawn. But first blood, not going to be too devastating because of the fact that it was on Emilzy, and even though he's slightly behind Dardes, that's where you expect him to be. And adapting, however, using the purification bead, now looking for the turnaround.
Oh, I thought we were going to see the dead Habwa. Cherio still uses the ultimate defensively. Interesting play from everybody involved right there. Right? The late bees, the ultimate, the non-follow, just everything kind of went awry for both teams. And I think that's one of those scenarios where you go, all right, you screwed up, I screwed up, let's forget about it and move on.
Habwa's water spout has always felt like one of the more difficult abilities to predict at a competitive level because you're so uncertain all the time of just when that Habwa is trying to knock you up to look for the crushing wave right after.
Well, it comes down to the complexity. One of the more complex parts of the game is the discussion of pre and post fire delay. And basically what that is how long does it take your character to do a movement before the actual ability is fired. That's where the idea of auto attack or basic attack cancel comes from. And when it comes down to Habwa, the third ability, the water spout, activates almost immediately. There's very little startup, so that's why you always get surprised. But the punishment on the other side is the post-fire delay is incredibly high. So you go for it, you're always going to knock him up. But if you do miss, you're sitting there with your hand in the air, stood still for a minute, waiting for everybody to punch you.
Well, it's not just that, but also Yaman. Yaman has so much range on Cherio that I think it's going to be really difficult for Mouse to close the distance on. There's only so much that Nika can afford to face tank, and I don't think that Dardes is really going to have enough chances to play a frontlining factor as much as he is going to be looking for the peeling potential. He's going to be there in the mid to late just to knock somebody up if necessary, but outside of that, very rough for a Sylvanas into NRG's current draft.
I do like Big Man Ting's pick here, though. It's interesting. Somewhere Death Panther's sitting there going, so you called up a minor league player and you played Ho Yi mid and it wasn't me. What's going on here? But I like the Ho Yi pick because of the giant slow that might let Cherio join the conversation.
I like saying Big Man Tings on the Ho Yi because way back in the day, and I hate pulling an aggro here, but when I used to be on Dignitas and saw Big Man Tings playing the Ho Yi, he really enjoyed Hunters. He's always admitted, if you asked him, that support was never really his calling card when it came to Smite. He definitely enjoyed the ADC or the mid lane role infinitely more, and I think that's what makes Big Man Ting such a potent player this season, is because of the fact that he is so versatile.
I
Le
think
están
that a
sacando como
lot of people
500 de
watch
oro
his,
más
when
o
I watched
menos.
him play support, I
Mouse,
noted that he had
NRG.
good instincts. He wasn't a poor support player, but he never sat there and made #1 on my list. Watching him play this mid lane has been an
Y 10
absolute
minutos de
treat.
partida y va
And I mean,
1-0
I
muertes.
speak to Aggro every now and then. He pretends to be my friend, and he was talking about like, look, man, he's doing all the right things that a mid laner needs to do. He's just playing the mid lane correctly.
Sí, contra
And to see a
Rival
guy
creo que
make
fue.
that swap is impressive.
Something really interesting, though, that I just noticed is Cherio's itemization choices early on for a Habois in the jungle. Going into the Warlock staff as opposed to a Bancroft's Talon.
Yeah, we've seen him do this like all the time. And me and Aggro complain about it like all the time. But then it works out all the time. So what are we complaining about? But I think the core, you know, the core conversation is like, why go Warlock staff on a character that you want to make an early impact with? Especially in the jungle.
I think that's the concerning factor that I have for him right now is, sure, you get that large swing of health that can be beneficial up against gods like the Guan Yu or the Humbats trying to full kit commit to you. But there's the problem to also consider that you are missing out on a lot of early game damage that kind of is one of the main reasons why so many people view Habois as a heavy frustration factor. He's all about snowballing the early game and just riding that wave through to the end.
Like that. You buy a Bancroft on Hebo, and he ganks mid lane here. But because he has 17 stacks on his Warlock staff, he's got to look for the cheeky knock-up over the wall and his teammates can do it. That knock-up is doing a lot more damage with a more traditional build. The ultimate use hits immediately. The pull, Mouse Sports, one step ahead of NRG. And that's the second part of the conversation.
Dardes,
sure. The second part of the conversation was when you have your teammates, you don't have to be the one-shot mechanic. Hebo Jungle is a pub-stomping character that, when you see in ranked, will just delete you. But you've got a team around you. You don't have to do that. One pick. Mouse Sports looking for the objective. Yaman shows up, pushed out away with no ultimate available for the mid lane Thoth. That means Mouse feel comfortable, but Emilito in adapting, not gonna let them feel so
Adapting hace la primera muerte para
shots from Spudio, not gonna find Emilito whatsoever.
¿Por
Third
qué?
one does, roll forward. Spudio got him! Welcome to the Pro League because he immediately gets punished. And that's how 101v1s go.
a little bit of a helping hand from Big Man Tings there. Can't really qualify that as a solo kill.
I didn't see it.
But,
adapting.
Man, adapting. Not going to be enjoying that one. Big Man Tings are probably going to pay for his transgressions and sure enough, Yaman with the final judgment to take him out. But Big Man Tings with that nice bounce off the wall, just destroying Adapting's health. More importantly, though, NRG managing to keep some Mouse Sports off the Gold Fury.
Yeah, that's the big win there is NRG actually kind of, I guess it's a wash. Nobody really wins that fight, but since Mouse Sports don't successfully get the Gold Fury, NRG, in theory, win the fight because they prevent the objective from going down.
There's a healthy spread of early and some late game potential for Mouse, but I think that NRG definitely hit the nail on the head in terms of drafting a composition that you want to prosper in the mid. I mean, it's going to be so difficult for Mouse to continue to find moments that they can actually capitalize and punish on, like we saw happening to Milzy, who was just killed by associating with Adapting there in the mid lane.
Gang affiliated. For the next like 5 to 8 minutes, NRG should run this game. They've got the Hunbats and the Guan Yu, and honestly, Hunbat's Guan Yu Thoth meeting up in the mid game is terrifying, and that further exacerbates the punishment that can be doled out towards Cherio's Warlock staff build. And again, I think the conversation that we had on the desk, if you're just joining us for match number 2, is very poignant here. Taco and I were talking about how the draft for Obey last game was infinitely better than their opposition, but their opposition still won the game because math exists on paper, but how do you do on the battlefield? And I think that's what it is with this Warlock staff build. It's objectively slow. It's not what we like to see, but Cherio consistently performs with it, so we can address the conversation and talk about it, but I don't know if I can criticize it.
Speaking of, We might get a chance to see it hard at work here
ulti
because
adapting
adapting, choosing to use that
para
Fear No
defender
Evil
la
just
Gold
to
Fury.
force reset Mouse from the Gold Fury, and that's all it takes. One Humbat's ultimate
No,
because
porque la
no
ulti de
one wants to
Humbat
stick around for the rest of
la
that
que le
energy
coloca Fer, ¿no
rotation.
es?
I'm also looking
Pero
towards
no,
the mid lane right now too,
sea,
because Yaman and Big Man Tings, they've both been participants of every
Pero
single one of their
no
team's
fue para
kills.
tumbar la Gold Fury, sino fue
The
para
main difference
defenderla.
though is that Yaman probably has a significantly easier time farming as opposed to Big Man, who, if he goes towards the wave to clear it, Yaman can just poke him pretty easily. So Big Man's forced to kind of just sit there and wait. Whereas Yaman, he clears the wave, he backs, he goes, takes Harpies, he goes somewhere else for farm. But Big Man, because he's stuck on his tower line, unless somebody is there with him, almost always going to be losing out on just a little bit of XP compared to Yaman.
Certainly true, and you can see about a half a level lead going to the Thoth player because of that. But 16-20 into this one, things are looking very bright for Mouse Sports. They have a slight lead. 700 gold is not something that I necessarily call a lead, but I think this is one of the more lopsided matchups that we've had. A high-end team versus a low-end team with a brand new Hunter player. And seeing Mouse Sports go toe-to-toe with NRG this long into the game, I think is a very, very, very positive sign for them and their fans.
This feels a lot more like that calm before the storm sort of moment, though, especially knowing NRG's history when it comes to that the 15-minute NRG trademark. That was what it used to always be known for. It was the fact that adapting in these guys just popped off once the 15-minute mark hit, and suddenly what looked like a relatively even game just explodes into like a 12,000 gold lead in favor of NRG, 10,000 experience, and you just don't know where to keep up from. And granted, I don't think that NRG have managed to maintain that same level of pressure throughout the years. It's very hard to keep it, considering that people get better eventually. Teams do progress, same as you. Well, NRG are still, it just really bodes that fear of lying in wait, and I think that that's more discomforting than anything else NRG could have thrown at Mouse.
See, I'm really positive about Cherio and Big Man Tings. I've loved Cherio's. Now, I know I like Hebo Jungle in general, sure, but just being, completely honest, Cherio's Hebo Jungle has been very successful, relatively, compared to what other Mouse Sports have done. And Big Man Tings on, I don't care. I like watching Big Man Tings every damn game. Adapting an ult, Cherio uses the beads to get away from it, no problem just there. Dardes off the mark with the grab, initiation of NRG deflated by Mouse.
But they still got Cherio's beads, and that's a pretty big win within itself. Adapting only used his blink, and that'll be up like 60 seconds before those beads are, and I think that that's always going to be more favorable to the Monkey as opposed to the Habois. So Cherio will certainly have to mind his pathing throughout these jungle corridors. This could also potentially be an opportunity for Mouse, though, if they wanted to look towards that Gold Fury yet again. They've kind of been toying around with the idea of it and just pulling, seeing what the response is going to be out of NRG. Now that that Fear No Evil is actually on cooldown, I'd like to see Mouse maybe look to bait.
Yeah, every time this Fear No Evil goes down, Mouse should be thinking about what is the play that we can make, because Fear No Evil is the cornerstone of this composition.
Pero no le quita cadena al Silvano, ¿no?
Look to play off of Adapting's ultimates, whether a blink precedes it or not. They're going to look to play off of that ult. So with that ultimate down, whether it's look for a pick, a kill, a tower, a Gold Fury, do something is what I implore Mouse to do, because that's the widest opening. That said, Adapting's ultimate's back up, window closed.
Four-man grouping, though, from NRG. Thought for a second there that Emily was going to try and pull the Gold Fury himself, but opts to go back to lane instead. Spudio doing a nice job, still managing to stay even, and the only real difference between these two Hunters is their build paths. Emilito going for the bridge item a little bit later than what we're used to seeing it. Typically it's Executioner and Nicoful switching places, but in this circumstance, I think that Emil just wanted some more attack speed and a slight boost of the damage.
I like it because we're in an extended laning phase. Most games at 20 minutes, the laning phase is over, and Ichabal is an item. You're more the carry expert than I am. Ichabod strikes me as a laning phase item. It's when you want to box the enemy hunter. When it comes time to team fight, there's usually just a better choice. Executioner, or even in the crit if you want to build. So the extended laning phase, I think that's why we see ML go this direction. Likely we'll follow it up with critical strike.
Está así de lento.
I think he needed the Ichabod to keep up in terms of boxing potential against Spudio. Spudio having that second ability on the ROM is a much larger steroid, and you don't have to knock yourself up for it. If Emil knocks himself up in front of Spudio, you're normally eating at least two minimum, 3 to 4 possibly if he's got the steroid propped at that time. I like the Ichabod here solely because of the fact that he is against another attack speed hunter.
So you mentioned the attack speed hunter, and there is no crit punishment on the side of NRG. I think for a lot of folks at home, the current carry build, the current hunter build is build crit if they're not going to stop me, and if they do, I guess I'll go into chins. Is that incorrect? Are they both equal? Is it dependent on the composition? Why do you think we see Spudio go into the chin side?
Spudio goes to chin side because he has to deal with Maniac and Emilzy, and chalking it up, Mouse Sports composition, it's not nearly as tanky. Sure, you've got Dardes on the Sylvanas, but Sylvanas probably one of the easier supports to take out. Even if you have crit, it doesn't really matter whether you have the attack speed and penetration or the crit. It's just, you know, Sylvanas is never going to buy Thorns. It's not even really all that ideal to go for the Nemean, which is why we see Dardes opting for that Midgardian instead, I believe, because Midgardian will actually give him a way to counteract it. Nemean, you want that for somebody who can be aggressive, and you don't get aggressive out of Sylvanas in that way. You get it for the setup. Very,
very true. Easy Pyro goes to NRG. No real contest there, but no contest on the left side tier 1, so NRG lose a tier 1 tower, traded out for a Pyromancer, which mathematically lines up. 500 gold for each of them, so no big deal there, no problem. A little bit of a buff coming out of the base. Whatever, dude.
I'd rather have the T1.
Yeah, same.
I think the T1 tower's a little bit of a better pickup for Mouse here. Because sure, you don't get that freebie sprint straight out of base, but you get the map pressure, and that's going to go a lot further for Mouse than a Pyromancer. And I also really like that Mouse chose to not even really contest the Pyromancer, sort of understanding. And we get this T1 tower, it's pretty much the same thing anyway in terms of experience and gold.
Thoth is going to outbeat virtually every single character when it comes to objective confirm. I think you make an argument for Vulcan, make an argument for Ra.
Ya le tumbaron una torre de
NRG. Outdo most of these characters when it comes to putting the last hit, excuse me, on the objective. Now Yaman's ultimate is up again. So Mouse going for this is dangerous, but they grab Emil, knock him up, bring him down to about 70%. Adapting drops to Fear No Evil. Players walk in different directions, but Mouse pick up the gold Dorian. So no harm, no foul. Yaman flipped up, Suns flipped down. Spicy big man tings, putting Yaman in the ground. Mouse Sports watch as they are on the chase. Gold Fury in their direction. Middle lane in their direction. Maniac could also be there. Blink forward. Beautiful play again by Dardes. P.S. Cherio with the 1 versus 2 on the other side of the team fight. Takes the Hunter down with him. 3 players dead on the side of NRG. Mouse with the lone dead jungler, but he did his job there, Taco. Gold Fury, mine. Solo, mid, and Hunter, mine. Tier 1 mid, mine. And Mouse trying to say the same about tier 2.
They've just got to keep this going right now. Dardes making the smart play, taking the tower as long as possible, and, well, that's all the time that Mouse needed with 2 Hunters. More than easy trying to confirm 2 towers before everybody from NRG that died manages to respawn, and just
yo lo sé cuando le hacía allá era que lo había visto los disparos.
Between these 2 teams, I just, that burst that came forward from Mouse, just highlighting the weaknesses and NRG's lack of nerve.
Adapting and Cherio are 2 very prime examples of the difference between a high damage jungler and a high control jungler right now. Hood Bats can do heavy damage. You can see the Hydra's Lament being built, the Transcendence being built. Adapting wants to be the assassin Hood Bats, don't get me wrong. But the damage he's doing with just the Fear No Evil is pennies. It's not really talking about anything. Cherio, on the other hand, is absolutely destroying these players with the simple combo. You can see how close they are in damage right here. But let's be real, Cherio didn't do any damage to anybody until very recently. So all of that damage came all together at once. Adapting has been spread over the course of the game. So the control was there for NRG, but Mouse just brought the damage.
Speaking of control, it's going to be Mouse pulling this Fire Giant already. NRG have to know this is happening. Emilzy going to get tossed up in syrup to the entirety of Mouse, and there go the Suns as Nika's trying to make sure that Emilzy goes down.
Cherio helps out the solo and picks up one, but he goes down right after the Fear No Evil. Adapting's still alive, but his ultimate is down. 4 on 4. Emilzy and Cherio both on the bench. Now Mouse lacking the damage from their jungler, still surging forward because NRG don't have the front line that they once did. That said, Mouse still thinking about the Fire Giant, but I think they would be better off backing off, and that is what they'll eventually do.
They'll accept the 1-for-1 trade out, although it's probably still NRG's to take because they lose Emilzy, but Mouse lose their secure, I think, for the Fire Giant, which is why they essentially have to back off. You're not going to be able to contest Thoth's Final Judgment, and Yaman's at that. Emilito going to have to dash away with that agility from Nika's pluck, but it's all about Maniac looking to punish Nika for overextending.
Definitely a force. Tier 1 tower on the right-hand side goes down. Mouse playing very aggressive. You know, it's interesting. I don't like that play, and NRG going to make it look even worse as they punish Mouse by pushing up onto the Tier 1 tower themselves. Cerberus in the wings. This Tier 1 going to go down nice and easy to NRG. Mouse still do have the lead despite the 500 gold going in their direction.
Pero esa no es una Drainade.
A deficit.
But this is NRG with a level 20 go on you now, and it's only going to get worse for Mouse from here on out, Tom. Those earlier issues that we were concerned about, it might not seem like that big of a difference, 4 minutes from before to this moment now, but 4 minutes is a heck of a long time when it comes to MOBAs, and Smite especially. A lot of the members from NRG now starting to get some of the more ideal itemization online, and Melito even feeling as though the chin size more of a necessary pickup than the crit choices.
Yeah, I saw him do that as well, and
¿Qué está leyendo?
man, I don't know if I straight up agree. Such a squishy team on Mouse. Like I said, I mean, you are the carry expertise.
The only reason I agree is because if Emilito is building into this, it means that he feels like he isn't doing enough damage.
He's also going the Titan's bane, which also the same mentality. He doesn't feel like he's doing enough damage. But the question I pose is he not doing enough damage because the build is keeping him back, or is he not doing enough damage because he's so afraid of getting in range and dying?
Well,
that's the thing. We watched him once get close, and he got knocked up and knocked down, so.
Speaking of which, looks like follow-up is coming out on adapting Forge Shell, but Spudio's still going to connect with all 3 Astral Barrages.
What a play. The team backs him up. The Doubleune for Spudio in the Smite Pro League. Love to see these minor league players perform like that. That right there was a confidence call from Mouse. You've played on a competitive squad. That's the knockup happens and we get some poke, and Spuddy goes, I'm ulting, I have this, guys. And the team says, fine. Dardas blinks forward, gets the control. Fire Giant goes the way of Mouse. That is Mouse showing confidence in their rookie carry, and I am all about it. Love it, Taco. Absolutely love it.
My favorite part about all of it, though, was just Mouse. As soon as Spudio goes up into the air and they realize what's happening, they immediately look to take out that shell health that Adapting had just been applied with. So really excellent gameplay overall from Mouse there.
And that's, oh man, that's what I mean, because we know that these guys can play. We shove that down your guys' faces all the time. All 6 teams in each region are better than everybody you know in Smite, period, end of story. And we see Cherio trounced people. We see big man Tings with the triple bounces, right? We've seen this. But sometimes what we don't see out of Mouse is that trust, is that interconnectivity between the squad, right? And I can't reiterate, as soon as Spudio hits forward, as soon as he ults, Dardas and Cherio go, oh, this is what we're doing, and they surge forward, and they just trust that Spudio's going to hit everything. Dardas sets it up, Cherio sets it up, sure, but just complete trust in the squad to do what they're supposed to, which sounds easier than it actually is.
For what it's worth, though, as strong as Mouse have looked and been able to overcome even some of the counter initiation moments from NRG, it's still a Thoth composition. It's still a Thoth team, and trying to siege against Yemen of all people piloting the Thoth. This is not going to be a free one for Mouse. It doesn't matter if you take every single tower on the map. Unless you have those Phoenixes and the Titan, NRG are still going to fight back.
Sí.
Maniac, Adapting, and Yaman
Mandaría a
all
Adapting a
have
atacar.
selections that are fantastic at playing defense. Stygian,
Carmelito.
Torment, and Fear No Evil are two of the best options for playing D. Having a guy with a heal on a, let's look at the build, roughly a 0-second cooldown is also really nice for defending your stuff. And Yaman, the artillery machine, just sitting back and shooting mortars like he's got a trebuchet. I mean, that's NRG are sitting here going, we are totally down. NRG are just waiting for Mouse to make a mistake, kill them, walk up the mid
Depende de
lane.
la duración del
So
tiempo.
the big thing here is also just the fact that Mouse's jungle team fight probably way more favorable than NRG's. NRG's has a lot of really finicky ultimates in terms that you don't want them getting cut off
Por
by
ahí
parts
media
of the
hora
wall
cada
and
pro.
segments of narrow corridors. And
Dependiendo
there are
que me
some
lo
nice
llevan
spots for
31
those Fear No
minutos de-
Evils. And
de
Adapting
partida
has
y-
utilized them pretty efficiently, but
apenas van a
in
sacar
comparison
Phoenix.
to Mouse's zoning control in the jungle, NRG's draft doesn't really offer the same amounts, but this part of the control could go a long way.
Oh.
His Maniac doesn't already die.
Oh, the ultimate. Spunio, have you got it? He's got one, he's got two. But the solo lane has the shell. Adapting knocked up, loses half of his HP. The pull into the pluck into the left side Phoenix is the focus. Darnaz goes to the ultimate, not doing
Ese
it pretty
Phoenix,
there.
GG.
Still an ultimate available for Big Man Tings and Cherio, both of which will delete a player. Nika has to scurry on out. Left side Phoenix still alive. Sun's dropped. I don't like that one. BMT tried to zone players out. And there's the Fear No
Ciao,
Evil.
Hoji.
Maniac gets the kill off of the amazing ultimate from Adapting.
Pero lo mató Guanyu.
Patience is a virtue, and Adapting a virtuoso. Great job from the Jungle Hunbats.
Mouse are the ones who have to throw themselves out there if they want to look to take this game off of NRG. They've pretty much followed every single part of the pathway to success in this game. It's just closing it out is never going to be easy
¿Será que
against this
NRG va a
Hunbat's
ganar la primera?
sync.
It is really rough. If you are looking for Mouse, a positive there is that Cherio didn't use the ultimate.
Aunque lo pueden
Which
remontar,
sounds
ya
odd,
tienen 3
but
torres.
If Cherio uses the ultimate at any point that was presented on that left side rush, he dies.
No,
Right?
pero les quedan
And I would
4
much rather
torres,
have the
pero
consistent knockups from a distance than Cherio
desde
die.
que hagan una buena
Unless
agrupada y
he's
se vayan a
trading out
atacar.
with Yaman or Adapting pre-Fear No Evil, I don't want Cherio using that ultimate and dive in the back line because his loss is going to be more impactful than whoever he kills.
How crazy do you think it'd be if Cherio were to just blink in and ult, like, back?
Like back from,
He'd be, like, ulting towards his team, and then immediately after you've got Dardes blinking in with the knock-up on Sylvanas, so Cherio definitely lives.
That's the magical Christmas land play. That's what everybody's hoping for. And NRG are doing a great job of spreading out and making sure that doesn't happen. And Cherio, well, will have to use the ultimate defensively. So
Murió.
BLZ will make sure that he doesn't
murió
have
Hoji
it. Big Man
y
Tinks goes
murió
down. Spunio
Rama.
goes down. Nika jumped on. Where's the overhand
¿Será que
smash?
sí, Sao?
Right there.
Doble
The
kill de
double
Adapting.
kill for King Kenneth. And that's the mistake that
Y
Mouse
eso es
Sports
torre
needed
down.
to make. Energy taking tier 2, going to
No,
look towards the
entran
Phoenix
directo al
and
Phoenix.
possibly the Titan. I said earlier, Taco, they was just waiting for Mouse Sports to slip up.
Solo está
and that's what
Silvano
they did,
y
man.
el primero que
Rough.
sale es
NRG are
en
just such an experienced and
36
veteran
segundos.
team.
No, 30
I
segundos el
cannot
primero
fault
que sale.
Mouse
Van directo al
too much
titán.
for that because, I mean, Mouse are still pros, and
Sí.
I'm sure that they're
Directo
probably
al
kicking themselves
titán.
watching this one back because I know for a fact
GG.
that they're always going to have to look back on it.
Sí, claro.
But kudos to them for that
Un
early
solo play
commitment.
bueno
They really
y
gave
chao.
NRG a run for their money.
I mean, that's, look, Mouse Sports are still in the lead as their Titan falls. Energy take this one over. 34-24 on the clock. And at the end of the day, I mean, this was
NRG, ganador de la
realistically
primera
Energy's
partida.
going, look, bud, we're waiting for you to make the mistake, slipped out, and we'll take the victory. Mouse did a great
MVP,
great
¿quién será el
job
MVP?
of running that game. Also, by the
MVP,
way, with a
digo que
brand new
Adapting.
team member,